Hey everyone, this is Gaming Solo, and we're going to talk about $20 million today. Why $20 million? Well, if you haven't been paying attention, the financials for CIG for 2023 are out, and they lost $20 million that year. Now, for someone like me and you, $20 million, that's more money than we can imagine having at all in our lifetimes. It's a lot of money. For a game development company, that's not all that much anymore. 15, 20 years ago, that would have been kind of crazy. Nowadays, that's nothing. We have the world's first $2 billion game coming out next year, and we're talking about $20 million. So let's break it down a little bit. So in the financials, 2023, $20 million gone. And just for people that don't really understand how this works, $20 million isn't really gone. They would have taken out a loan or something of that nature to cover those expenses. They are pretty light on cash flow typically, and obviously as the year went on and the 20 million, I suspect the 20 million, a chunk of it was the game studio they acquired in 2023 and maybe some other costs, but when they acquired that game studio, at the time, depending on their cash flow, they probably didn't cash flow that purchase. They might have taken out a loan or something of that nature. I'm not really sure if they're required to disclose that clearly in their financials if they took out a loan for that acquisition. But starting or ending the year 20 million in the red, obviously they weren't cutting bad checks for employees and for vendors and things like that. That's not how that works. So the 20 million would have been debt that they took on. A lot of people are kind of freaking out. Well, I say a lot of people in the media that like to point fingers and act like this development cycle is a big scam, which depending on your point of view it could be. But at the end of the day, all the uproar in the news right now and in media and in the YouTube videos that I'm sure you've already seen, it's really not that big of a deal. I actually watched Salty Mike's video on this earlier today. This is being recorded on Thursday, released on Friday, and he hits the nail on the head in his video. Um, Obviously, if the $20 million was that big of a deal, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now because I wouldn't be playing Star Citizen and making any content about Star Citizen, right? If the company was struggling, I'm sure we would have known about it by now. We did see a lot of internal shifting and some layoffs, or not layoffs. They let some people go. I mean, maybe it was layoffs. I can't remember what they called it. But I know they closed the office in California. Different things that they did over the last 18 months or so, probably because they didn't make what they technically needed to in 2023 to break even for the year. So they have been making some shifts to try to get that money back. If it was pulled out in loans, I'm sure that they're trying to pay those loans back as soon as possible. Interest sucks. Maybe they're not. Who knows? Maybe they said, hey, we'll get this $20 million loan and we'll pay it off when Squadron 42 comes out in 2026 and makes us $5 billion, right? Maybe that's what they're anticipating. But realistically, $20 million for a game development studio is not it's not that unheard of in the last decade or so. $20 million during game development. A lot of studios go in for more than that. Um, a lot of indie studios end up having to sell themselves to bigger studios to come out with bigger, more ambitious games, which is exactly what CIG was trying to avoid, which is why they crowdfund the way they do. So, in light of that and the thought of CIG letting a bigger studio come in for $20 million and start calling some of the shots. Obviously, rather than take out the loan and take the $20 million hit 2023 and keep trucking, um, especially recently with some of the stuff going on with larger studios like Ubisoft, uh, having a big name behind them might not be the best path. So I definitely support the way they're handling this. Um, And the $20 million for me isn't really a big concern. Now, a lot of people will disagree and they'll say, well, what did they spend it on? They're spending it on all that stuff. And they're definitely hiding how much they're spending on certain line items within their financial reports by grouping different things together that probably have no business being grouped together. And honestly, at the end of the day, um, I don't have a big problem with it. I know people probably would freak out if they knew how much marketing was spending and things like that. But the game is making money right now, which is what a game studio should do. They should be making money. I know it's pledges on the pledge store, which isn't the greatest, but they are making money while they develop this game, and they're developing this game without any major big money players and backers. It's mostly funded by us, the players. So I'm okay with that. And I'm okay with $20 million here and there. It's really at the end of the day not going to be a big deal. Um, $20 million for CIG is a drop in the bucket, especially when you look at the fact that they've probably made that up in the first half of this year so far. We're not even through June; we're still, beginning of May. Haven't even hit Invictus yet, and the financials for this year look stellar. Last year fell a little short of the year before, and I know some people are probably nervous about that. If they lost $20 million in 2023, how much did they lose in 2024? Well, they didn't acquire another game studio in 2024. So they probably didn't lose any money. It would have been nice if they would have told us how much that acquisition cost, and maybe it is somewhere. If it is, please let me know in the comments. Would be curious to know how much that game studio cost. The name is escaping me right now. I usually do these videos no script, just what's on my mind, which is always entertaining when you're trying to recall facts, right? But yeah, the acquisition has gotten them pretty far. As like I mentioned earlier, if you've seen Salty Mike's video, he talks about this. Um, their CIO came from that studio. He's a really smart guy. There's a lot of networking stuff that's happened since that studio was purchased, and that networking stuff is what has directly led to the completion of the current stage of server meshing that's in the game now. And they're currently working hard on the dynamic server meshing, which I'm hoping we hear something about soon. And yeah, I mean, we're in a good spot. We're in a more playable game. I was actually able to have someone new try out the game in the free flight a few weeks ago, and they enjoyed it. It was very stable. I remember my free flight when I first joined, and it was terrible, and I was wondering what the heck was going on. And then for some crazy reason, I bought the game anyway, and then I got frustrated, stopped for 2 or 3 months, and then I came back, and that was, by the way, around the 317, 318 update. And then I came back, and it was a little more stable, but still frustrating at times. But it was fun enough for me to overlook it. Right now, we're in a state where your ship doesn't always explode every 5 seconds because of things you don't see. You can actually point your gun and shoot at NPCs for the most part, and they don't jitter around the screen, and you don't unload 3 mags to kill one guy. You don't fall through the planet nearly as often. I know it still happens, and don't flood the comments like I fell off the planet yesterday. I know it still happens, but it doesn't happen 5 times a play session, at least for me. Um, I definitely appreciate the polish that they're working on putting on the game. I know I've criticized some things in previous videos. It's not perfect. It's absolutely not perfect. Any of us can point and criticize at things in the game right now. We can criticize the approach they're taking, like, polishing the new vehicles instead of fixing the old ones and things like that. But they got to make that ship sail. Invictus is next week. Next week is Invictus. So yeah, they lost 20 mil. It is what it is. They're still going. It's obviously not slowing them down. And if they're gonna make pretty banging space sim slash MMORPG slash very, very fun first person game, I'm down for the ride. They can lose 20 million last year and we find out about it next year. It's not going to bother me. They're still trucking forward. They've almost released single player game that's probably going to bring in a lot of money if it lives up to the hype. And it seems to be living up to the hype. They've got some pretty big stars in that game, and some pretty big support there. Anyway, what are your thoughts on it? Drop them below in the comments. If you want more content, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe. Don't forget the bell. The bell is there too. If you're subscribed, you can hit the bell and you'll see when the videos come up. I usually set them up as a premiere, and then they play at usually 7 a.m. Eastern on Fridays. So I'll be doing that with this one. And also come back next week, because next week we're going to take one final look. And I say final, I haven't done it on the channel, but we're going to take one final look at the Starlancer Max before mine gets turned into a Starlancer TAC on Monday, which there will be a full walkthrough video happening on Monday when that is released. Anyways, I will catch you guys in the verse.